continue here from the euro Canadian dollar. What I was saying is that we don't know whether this market is going to continue lower or not. What we know though is that the series of extensions here has failed, and it has failed when the market has pierced this 154.06. all right, so now that has not happened on below a FibStalker level, so this market could also continue higher, but we need to be open to anything, and therefore we can also, and I will also consider a full retrace into the 150 to 24. Okay, this is now possible. Next is the euro Japanese yen. We're seeing the Japanese yen strong all over the board, as affecting the stock market as well, or as a consequence of the stock market crash and or correction, I should say. And this market is actually traded here. We've seen 50%, a full 50% here trading, and that has brought price into the first target here. And now we are seeing a continuation. So the highs to lows here has not traded, and this market is trading in extension here. So because that is not traded, we're going to look at the second target of the original trace here, and that will bring price into 131.79. okay, so that's where this market is headed. Euro, New Zealand dollar. This market, there were some pundits on Twitter that were saying that this market was supposed to go higher. Well, we know very well there was a 50% here that has been respected. Now it's 2 weeks, and this market has been hovering within these areas, now decisively moving lower. So we know what the targets are. Targets is 162.89 here, and that's where we could see this market moving. So if there are any opportunities to trade this market during the week, next week, beginning of next week, we will take that opportunity as well. Pound versus Australian dollar. This market is also correcting after printing a double top here. And when we look at the 50% here, we know that 50% has never traded, so something else is trading here. Previous size, congestion, previous support, now resistance, doesn't matter. You know, price action is showing us that the sequence here is has failed, and we can see that as well also, of course, in the sequence of measured moves here. So the inner sequence here, 50% to target, and then next 50% to target, and the next one has failed. Okay, so now the what I'm looking for is a retest of the 50% long, a test of the 50% long, but this level might not hold because this level here is a range, and 50% never held before. So we're gonna see whether this is gonna hold or this is gonna continue lower. Pound versus New Zealand dollar. Similar situation here. The 50% has held before. The 119.35 has held during the week, pushing price higher again to previous size, and now this level is under pressure, and we have to anticipate that this level is going to fail, bringing price again into a second test of 187.14. Okay, so let's be patient here. This market might bounce back and offer us an opportunity to short, because it's too late to short this market here. Pound versus Canadian dollar. We had an extension trading, that's the 173.18, and it appears now that level is going to be retested once again, and we're going to see whether this is going to continue the trend higher, or at that point we need to consider two scenarios. One would be the 50% long in this trend here and inner move, and note that the first target of the larger weekly setup, I'm talking about this setup here, was never reached. Okay, so we're gonna see if this level is put under pressure, the market goes below 172.24, sorry, 172.42, then the next level is going to be 172.10, and if that fails, if 171.03 fails, then we're going to get into 168.31. Next is the pound versus Japanese yen. This market is very much under pressure here, and the first target of that, first of all, I mean, this market is within an area, an extension short. Okay, so this is the reason why we are seeing this kind of behavior. And then we had this here, the 50% that has traded and brought price into the first target here, and the next level has failed. So FibStalker time is telling us that this short is in play, and now we have to consider two levels. One is 136.58, and the other one is the full 50% here, a little bit higher, the 140.77. Can the market get there? You bet it. And I think from now and next week, you're gonna see that the setups that bring price down into 140.77. When we look at the daily here in this market, we can see that the 50% has traded yesterday, and that has targets below here. The first target is just being hit now, 149, 149.94 is the 150 level here, and this market can continue lower into 147.89, and then we could, before or after, we'll see a bounce. If the market bounces here, then the next measure move is going to be highs to lows here, and that's where we're going to capture, if given the opportunity. That's where we're going to capture this market. Okay, so we look forward for a bounce if we get it, but this market is very extended here on the downside, and we could just see it continue moving lower. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, this market, as you know, is within also an area of resistance. We have two levels, an extension short, and the market is well into that, and that would be this area here, and then this area was defended, and then there is the 92.04. the high was 91.88. It's still a lot of way. We cannot consider that level traded, so we will keep these two traces here, the 90.87 and the 92.04, and we'll see whether that level is tested before a move lower here. The Canadian dollar is weakening, so we need to see whether that level is going to hold as well. Let's give a look at the others here. The Australian dollar, Swiss franc. Australian dollar, Swiss franc has kept moving lower here, and when we look at the daily time frame, we had this extension that has initiated the move lower here, and that brought price into first and second target, and after that we saw a next measure move here, and we could make the case of two measure moves here, but doesn't matter because the last one is 74.03, and this has hit to the pip that second target, that first target, not to the pip, but 72.62, 72.52. No, that level has not traded yet. So the first target has not been hit. We're seeing a reaction here. This market has the potential to continue lower into the 71.84, so we could see that level trading. Now if that doesn't happen and we get a bounce higher here, this is the level that we're going to look at. That's the 74.46 on the weekly time frame. Okay, just in case we get profit taking here, moving this price higher, it should move price around this 74.40, 74.50 area. Australian dollar Japanese yen is also being killed here, getting killed because of the strength in the Japanese yen, and the this market was not capable of printing higher highs here, and now we know that it has the potential to retrace into the 50% that initiated the move. The 50% also was not strong enough to bring price into that first target, so that's where this market can and it's going to move back to 82.07. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, after that break of the sequence of measured moves, it took a little bit of time to start reversing, but eventually has traded the 110.65 here, that now we can consider the 107.36 traded here. So this market has a potential for continuation lower, and the second target is at that 105.65. Okay, that helps price into previous range lows here. So I do not anticipate the 50% here holding. 50% in fact is trading now, and there is no participation at this level. So there are two scenarios here for this market: either a continuation lower into that second target, or the 50% next 50% long, which seems short, which seems improbable to me now, is going to trade. If that happens, that's a gift of the market, and that would be a stupendous trade, short trade that, but I don't count on that. Canadian dollar Swiss franc is actually also moving lower here. This market has tested the 50% long from which is really a level that was initially generated by tracing from lows to the initial highs here, and then that level has been respected, not respected, not respected, has held, respected, not respected, respected, not respected. So there is no consistency here, and the bulls are not willing to necessarily pick up this price. So if we get a bounce as it happened before, for example here or here and here, then the next level I'm going to look at for a short is the 75.62. Okay, so that's something to keep on your radar as well. Euro Swiss franc is also moving lower here, so we see a lot of strength in the Swiss franc and Japanese yen, which is actually bringing these prices lower. And at this point we can consider this extension short, which hit the first target to the pip right now, yesterday, at the close of yesterday. And the next measure move here, if it has traded, is not full 50% retrace, but it's a lower anchor here, the 115.32, which actually has the potential to keep pushing this price lower. Potential for a move lower in this price is big, because there is a lot of room. And interestingly enough, this is coming from this extension long, and the next measure move, bam, has failed, or it's about to fail actually. Let's see. So no, it has not failed yet. So if that happens, we could see a full move into the lows to highs here, right? So keep that in mind. That's not impossible, and I'm gonna use another level as well. So very interesting development here for this market. If the 114.42 breaks, we could see this market trading into 110.34, even lower, 107.90. Okay, so very important development here. This level is being defended at the moment, but we don't know whether that is going to continue. Pound versus Japanese yen, same story here, and pound versus Swiss franc rather. We had a 50% trade, then the sequence failed, and then a full 50% as traded again. So the first 50% were pressing to the first target, the next 50% has failed, and the market came back to trade into the full 50%, which is what's trading at the moment. All right, and the first target is 128.55, which is actually pushing this price lower. There's potential here for this market as well, and we're gonna use as target or potential for this market the 123.30 level. So there's a long way to go, and opportunities in coming in next week. Okay, so New Zealand dollar Swiss franc as traded the weekly short here, if you remember, and sorry, this was not the weekly short, this was an initial trace. The weekly short has failed indeed, and however this market continued moving lower, and this market has the potential to visit the 50% here. Of course the low 67.13 here, or 67.13, could offer some support. Also current previous lows here are offering support, and the anchor here we could only find it after the fact. It's a bit odd here. That's what the algorithms are trading at the moment, and that's the 68.72. All right, so finally the last market is the New Zealand dollar Japanese yen. This market came in here, traded a 50% that initially was not respected, and that's the highs to all lows here. Initially this area was not respected, but then the market started respecting it, and actually moved lower and then tested it very clearly here and brought price into that first target. Okay, now this market is on top of support. We'll need to see whether that support is capable of holding price. This is a range, so we could revisit the lows. Do not anticipate 76.80 holding here. Okay, so there are a few ideas here for next week. Something to watch: short New Zealand dollar, US dollar, Singapore dollar, pound versus Japanese yen, euro versus Japanese yen. US dollar Japanese yen is also pushing lower here. I have not showed this to you, but that area of support 108.80 seems to be losing some ground here. Okay, so this market could indeed just drift lower here from current levels and break that 106.50. right? So this is what we are seeing at the moment. And then Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, and New Zealand Japanese yen. So I think it was a great week. Let me know in the room how many R's, how many R multiple you have collected this week. I think it was a great week, and thanks for taking actions, and thanks for being there, and I'll see you then next week. Bye bye now.